Boom, what is up, Waves Capital? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about how SoFi just released some extremely impressive numbers in their Q2 earnings report, and the stock is popping off and being appropriately rewarded in after-hours trading. But I personally think this is just the beginning for SoFi stock, not only because they just revealed some extremely impressive growth metrics in that report, but also because they have a very high level of short interest at the moment, okay? Current short interest, current short percent of float is sitting at 21.7%, which is very high. And of course, when this is the case and the stock is popping off, typically lends itself to a potential short squeeze and some very, very exciting price action over the short term. So, as you guys know, SoFi was the first on the list of growth stocks that I'm currently excited about going into the month of August. As you guys saw, if you guys saw my recent video, and it's also, shout out to Waves Capital, the largest position, both call options and common shares in the Waves Capital portfolio going into earnings. So right now, we're looking good. SoFi, so good. Shit. But I'm very excited to see what happens from here, not only for SoFi, but for so many of the other names, not only that I mentioned in this video, but just growth stocks in general, you guys. There is a very, very positive theme going on right now for small caps and for growth stocks, especially going into a far more optimistic month of August, but also this small cap earnings season, especially considering so many of these growth stocks, as you guys know, have just gotten obliterated. SoFi is only one of the few, but all the names on this list right now, and names that I will be featuring in this video. I'm not going to be diving into the chart today, but these are the honorable mentions that I wanted to put on your guys' radar that are going to be announcing soon. And for full transparency, that I'm very well positioned in myself, okay? So, as you guys know, always money where my mouth is. DraftKings, Robinhood announces tomorrow. DraftKings announces earnings on Friday. SoFi, Coinbase, Riot Blockchain, the two OGs, crypto OGs, doing well today. Other names like Roblox, been printing for Waves Capital. Unity Software doing well. Phase a little shaky right now. But so many names, you guys, that are going to be reporting earnings over the coming weeks that I think are going to impress. Not only because these companies have gotten so oversold, but also because I think these are great companies and they're growing at a crazy pace. We're not going to be going over the specifics of SoFi's earnings report today. Save that for the newsletter and kind of save that just for you guys to look into yourself. It's not, you just type in SoFi earnings recap and you can find it pretty much anywhere. I don't feel it's necessary to go over it now, but the growth metrics were impressive. Everything, I listened to the earnings report live as they were doing the earnings call itself, and I didn't hear one negative thing. And I'm just so excited to see what happens. Once again, not only for SoFi, but for all of the names I'm mentioning. And again, we will, of course, dive into the charts on SoFi. And I'll give you guys my upside price targets for SoFi, specifically after we read through this guy. Okay, so let's read through this. A little bit of celebration, but also a little bit of fundamental talk. And it's always good to summarize my thoughts by reading through the newsletters that I wrote that morning, simply because it's just a composed version of my thoughts, of course. But before we read this, you guys, please let me know, what is your favorite stock right now? Just super simple, pretty basic, kind of generic, honestly. But what is your favorite stock at this moment in time? What do you have the biggest bag of? And yeah, what are you excited about right now and why, of course, okay? So looking forward to hearing your guys' feedback in the comments downstairs. Hopefully we see some new ones in there. But SoFi, again, we'll get to this after, talk a little bit about the short interest after and that, the potential there. But once again, let's read through this puppy and, do a little bit of cheersing. SoFi. This is part of course, the price targets newsletter that I sent out this morning. This is the date of recording, August 2nd. If you're watching this at a later date, a lot of the principles still hold steady. But we also covered, again, SoFi, DraftKings, Robinhood, Bitcoin, Coinbase, and Riot in this newsletter as well. Keep that in mind. SoFi wasn't able to finish the newsletter prior to SoFi's earnings release, so we'll kick it off with a recap of this highly anticipated report. Well, guys, I don't want to lock this in as a win until we see our calls multiply tomorrow. But as of now, we're looking pretty damn good. We've been on a hot streak lately, and I trust that the waves we've been making will continue to roll in throughout the remainder of this small cap earnings season. Again, so many great names reporting earnings over the near future. And it's still early, but I'm already smelling the steak and sushi. Perfect graphic right here by Mr. Alec Monopoly to complement the good old steak and sushi. Following some amazing numbers is where we'll get real. But again, if you guys, Waves Capital, newsletter portfolio subscribers, got in on those trades with me, again, on top of this short interest, I'm so pumped to see what the rest of the week has in store for some of these call options that we had in place. So following some amazing numbers and a beat on both top and bottom lines, which means they beat on revenue and beat on EPS or earnings per share. SoFi was up as much as 11% right there, and after I was trading, it's currently up just above 8% as I was about to send out that newsletter. So I'm listening to the live earnings call, and I'm loving everything that I'm hearing. The strength of SoFi's team and their ability to scale their business and product offerings is unmatched by any other competitor in the space. So again, on top of growing at an insane rate year over year, even in the wake of economic headwinds, and for a lot of the reasons we've been talking about, specifically in the newsletter, I guess, but just people running out of money, but wanting to maintain the same spending habits, of course, needing lines of credit, personal lines of credit. That's where SoFi capitalizes. And that exact belief and that exact thesis was exactly what they said in their earnings report. So props to us on that one. Again, you guys, it's not incredibly obvious, but it's also not obvious that would be the case. This earnings call proves it's a massive fundamental win for SoFi, and any investor who isn't looking to buy SoFi stock following this report simply isn't paying attention. Although the technicals don't matter nearly as much as the fundamentals of the moment, they act as the cherry on top, and they're looking pretty sweet. So after this, we'll dive into the charts, and I want to talk to you guys about some upside price targets for SoFi. All right, we'll just do that. It's $8 by week's end, $9 over the course of the coming weeks. And again, you guys, this short interest is a really great catalyst for some pretty sporadic price action, honestly. Okay, so before we dive into the charts, before we talk short interest, you guys, if you want to know how I'm trading all of these, if you want those daily updates on all of these names that I just mentioned, join the winning team. Join Waves Capital. It's $15 a month, $40 for every 3 months. That's up to you. But join, give it a shot. You can always unsubscribe. But we have been on a roll lately. You can ask anyone in the comments if you guys have been part of the team. Please let other people know in the comments downstairs that the growth stocks, the long calls we've been making have been so freaking lucrative. And I know the past 6 months has been rough for a lot of people, but if you're still here, if you're still learning, if you're still watching these videos, then, you made it. You made it through the storm. The dust has settled. And now, given the macro, things are starting to pick up again for good reason. Okay? So, I look forward to seeing you guys in there. Of course, you get the complete breakdown of my entire personal portfolio, which is the Waves Cap portfolio, option stocks, cryptos, which is updated every single trading day during market hours. And every day, I send out multiple newsletters, including a trade alert, which is the first because it's the most time sensitive, price targets, which is the one we're looking at, and of course a macro analysis, just going over my thoughts on what's going on in the macro, because ultimately the macro dictates the micro, and in most situations, if you're right about the macro, you're even more right about the micro. Okay, and that's why we like trading small caps and growth stocks around these parts. Okay, so that said, again, you guys, that's the first link in the description box down below. Join the winning team once more. And if not, it's your loss. But hey, I appreciate you watching this right here, right now. Let's take a look at SoFi short interest. And again, you guys, this is very similar. If you just type in the name of your stock, so SoFi short interest. If you want to get real specific, you type in this right here, SoFi short interest ratio and short volume. This website, MarketBeat, has a very, very good and very simple updated list of pretty much the short float of every single stock in the market. So if you guys want to check the short flow of any stock that you have in mind to know if there is that short squeeze potential, which is where, people who are shorting stocks have to cover their asses, which ultimately runs the price of the asset up, that is very easy to do. And again, in the case that you see a beat in earnings and a big pop in after hours, tomorrow, the reason I'm so excited about our calls is because there are a lot of shorts that are going to have to cover their asses tomorrow. And again, already, and then even pump a stock that's already doing super well for fundamental reasons, which is awesome. Okay, so short interest, again, 20% is, anything above 20% is considered extremely high. 5% is about average for mega cap stocks. Anything above 10%, 10% is like mid-ground, but anything above 20% is considered an extremely high level of short interest, okay? And again, we're at 22%. This is a extremely high level of short interest for SoFi. And again, these shorts are hurting going into tomorrow, okay? So that said, let's wrap it up talking some price action. SoFi, so organic, you guys. SoFi has seen some very organic price action since these lows. I mean, this isn't very organic price action, but as far as the short term is concerned, this is such a clean series of higher highs and higher lows. High, low, higher, high, higher, low. We did break below that little short-term ascending channel, which are these two white perpendicular bars right here. Lines, I should say. But it's not a big deal. Still a series of higher highs and higher lows. The stock has obviously proved itself. These two, the base of these two price ranges are where SoFi is currently sitting in after-hours trading. So from here, I think that it's almost guaranteed that at least we retest previous short-term support as new resistance on this ascending channel. In the case that we see it tomorrow, that would take us up to about $7.10. I think we're going to go higher than that, though. And once again, with this short interest in mind, I do think this can propel the stock by week's end to test the top line of resistance, which is also coinciding pretty nicely with the previous high that we saw back here in mid-May following that big early May sell-off, which would lead us to that double top, almost a super janky head and shoulders pattern. But that would take us up to about $8.10, which is going to be my initial price target for SoFi. So first target is $8, just round it down to $8. Next, from there, I do have a target range in this area from about $8.50 to about $9. The reason for that being it's just been a historical level where SoFi has seen some resistance and support. This is a nice range right here, just a solid middle ground. And there's also some gaps in here that lead me to believe that these gaps need to be closed, okay? So first range, target range, I know it's a large range. It's like a 10% range pretty much from $8.50 to $9, but that is my initial range. And honestly, given the momentum of the markets, given the fact that optimism is picking back up across the entirety of the market and growth stocks specifically, again, today, the Russell 2000, I mentioned this in my Trade Alert newsletter, I sent this out to the fam, a screenshot of Dow Jones, S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and then the Russell, and the performance of each of those on the day. And it went down the line. So the Russell was up, the NASDAQ was slightly up, and then the S&P was down, and the Dow was the most down. That shows that there's a cyclical rotation, a macro rotation from value stocks back into growth stocks, okay? And given everything we've been talking about, given the fact that, again, so many of these growth stocks have gotten beaten down below the point of practicality and rationale, leads me to believe, and this is not, again, this isn't some crazy theory. This is just what you see if you've been involved in the markets for long enough. And that's mean reversion, right? Anything gets overextended, it's going to reverse to the mean, to the downside. If anything gets oversold, it's ultimately at some point in time going to reverse and revert to the mean, to the upside. Right now, we've seen so much selling, we've seen so much carnage, we've seen so much pain and despair. Now is the time that we can reclaim that mean and just find that comfortable middle ground between the highs that were too high and the lows that were too low. Okay, so very excited to see what happens from here. Overall target for SoFi, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this come by like late September, October, definitely come the winter season, is $10. SoFi IPO'd at $11, and that was a few years back. And since the time they IPO'd, the company has grown so much and developed so much and proven so much from just an operational perspective and a market share perspective. Like, they're so obviously the leader in the space. And on top of that, I will mention that they did announce that they were offering options trading as well, which for Robinhood, once again announcing earnings tomorrow, is the most lucrative segment of Robinhood's entire balance sheet and just revenue model. So that's huge for SoFi. SoFi has such a bright future ahead of it. SoFi Stadium went to the Super Bowl in my pop's hometown of Los Angeles, and the LA Rams freaking won at SoFi Stadium. So SoFi holds a very special place in my heart. I'm excited to see what happens over the rest of the week, and I'm excited to see what happens over the rest of the month for the Waves Capital portfolio. To close it out, once again, you guys, join the winning team. Just give it a shot. You can always unsubscribe, so just unsubscribe if you don't like it. But I trust you'll be sticking around, and I trust there's going to be a lot of a lot of steak and sushi on the horizon over the fall and winter months for Waves Capital. We're back, baby. So I'll catch you guys downstairs in the comments. I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's newsletter. And until next time, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace, team.